Conversation with the Atlantean Children of the Law of One. Part 14. The Forms of Consciousness. More about the essence of spirit. Side note, I've taken the time to consider your suggestions regarding the nature of spirit in contrast to consciousness. This has opened my understanding to a new reality I've never contemplated before. I'd like to share how I've processed this concept. Spirit is essentially the meaning that emerges from one or more conscious beings. Therefore, the essence of spirit is not a material substance but rather the accepted meaning imbued in forms. For example, a beautifully crafted house with intricate details and significant time invested in its construction accumulates a spiritual essence of beauty. Similarly, an old house laden with memories and sentiments gathers substantial spiritual essence. The concept of a house carries spiritual significance to human consciousness but may not exist in the awareness of other living entities. Consider American football, soccer, and most other games, which, in practical terms, do not directly fulfill human needs. However, they generate spiritual energy due to the meaning people associate with them. Likewise, TV shows, movies, and the arts are inherently spiritual in nature because they often lack practical utility for immediate human requirements. Have I correctly deduced this concept so far? The dimensions of physical reality extend beyond what you're currently perceiving. They are, in fact, infinite, as you've described. This implies that there exist countless variations of physical existence, each independent of your current experience, continuously being created with each passing moment. Consequently, these physical realities can sometimes be intertwined with spiritual, emotional, and mental realities, among others. In many instances, when a person undergoes an out-of-body experience, they remain within the dimensions of physical reality. The distinction lies in the medium or vibrational frequency, which consists of finer particles than the medium of your reality. Even in our current state, we possess a physical reality that is more intricate and expansive than yours. Additionally, we have different dimensions of spiritual, mental, emotional, and more. As we've explained earlier, these elements exist within each reality, with the physical serving as the foundation or anchor for each. Therefore, what you've attempted to explain is accurate. Spiritual essence is what manifests physical existence. For example, a house exists because there is an intended purpose for it. A robot, a computer, a vase, and all things share spiritual essence because they were created with an intentional purpose. This essence transcends the material or form used in their creation, and it resonates through the material substance. Like the saying, do not judge a book by its cover. Consequently, when you eliminate the physical manifestation, you haven't extinguished the underlying intention, which persists. This intended purpose is eternal, capable of enduring fluctuations and resistance, and remains unwavering. As it perseveres through trials and tribulations, it accumulates experiences to evolve into a soul. Thus, there is a distinct separation among these three facets: consciousness, spirit, and soul. Each individual possesses a unique spirit with its essence, defining who they are. Everyone is purposefully intended to be who they are by the Creator. The form of consciousness. Question: when I think about consciousness, I often visualize it as a soft, spherical orb of light. Does consciousness have a form in some way? Answer: consciousness is non-physical and lacks any specific form. Although it may be challenging to imagine something without a tangible shape, consider your thoughts, mind, and other higher faculties within you. They exist without physical forms yet are undeniably real. Your awareness is undoubtedly present, but can it be associated with a particular form? The answer is no. However, the relationship between the experience and the experienced is one of unity. When you perceive things, they exist in a potential, energetic state, but you usually encounter them temporarily in a specific form. For instance, in your denser reality, everything assumes a temporary form. They come into existence, serve their purpose, become obsolete, and transform into something else. Even your biological bodies change from being infants to aging and eventually expiring. This is the essence of duality, where things have form and become formless. In scientific terms, this phenomenon is known as wave-particle duality. When attention is directed towards something, it takes on a specific pattern or form based on the intended focus from a particular consciousness. In essence, attention shapes a physical form in a specific pattern. This is to say that attention takes physical form in a pattern. Thus, when an individual is paying attention, it implies that they are creating what they are intentionally looking for on a subtle level. Only when their minds are at ease, allowing their attention to become less tense, then they can perceive the true reality. Even when one thinks of someone remotely, they emit energy that reaches the intended individual. The metaphysical manifestation of physical objects adheres to this phenomenon, briefly taking physical form and then dissipating into the surrounding space. As we discussed earlier, your sun's rays disrupt the physical manifestation because they are directly generated from consciousness, transcending the limitations of existing material substances. This duality exists, yet in harmony, it forms a singular entity. So, although you can't physically see, hear, touch, or smell your thoughts, they contain elements of touch, vision, smell, and sound. Your entire life is composed of these 5 elemental aspects, which manifest in a concurrent fractal pattern. Consequently, consciousness takes on a temporary form, a dynamic one. Your physical body continually undergoes transformation throughout your lifetime, transitioning from an embryo to an infant, maturing, aging, and ultimately reaching its end. However, the awareness within remains constant. It's a nested concentric spiral of temporal forms that work harmoniously to sustain your consciousness. It's crucial to understand that the assumption that consciousness is independent of form is incorrect. While consciousness itself is formless, it is intrinsically linked with physical form. Enhancing the body can positively impact the mind, and similarly, nurturing the mind can have beneficial effects on the body. They function as a single entity where the material existence signifies the presence of consciousness. Consciousness exhibits a property of a spiral, concentric fractal pattern, where there are no extremes. Destroy the body. Assuming consciousness ceases to exist, and on a subatomic level, another form persists. Disintegrate these subatomic particles, and you find a similar pattern within planetary-sized particle life systems. The cycle is endless. It is always without form, only manifesting forms for expression. In other words, consciousness cannot be pinpointed or physically located. It is purely an internal or subjective experience. You can employ your mind but cannot extract and display it to someone as you would with your hands or other body parts. You can eliminate something, but there's no way to prove where its consciousness went or even if it existed in the first place. So, how do ghosts and spirits exist? Ghosts and spirits indeed possess forms, albeit in higher vibrational states composed of finer particles. As we previously discussed the 5 elements, including those exhibited by your own thoughts, consciousness can be considered the 7th element, as it doesn't fall within the 5 elements. Therefore, ghosts and spirits also encompass consciousness. No matter how deeply you delve into the world of material substance, consciousness will always transcend these material forms. Its presence on physical substances generates patterns, as we discussed earlier, and energy flows when it is present. Water and consciousness. Question: if I understand correctly, it's like the formation of a city or village, where people come together to create a suitable habitation for themselves, and these people have consciousness. But perhaps there is also an underlying consciousness that sustains their habitation in that specific region? Answer: that's partially correct. Remember that higher consciousness is not necessarily confined to a specific location, but it does create conditions for life to thrive. The presence of water is also an indicator of consciousness. The quality of water, the more polluted it is, reflects the decline of a society. Water follows an ascending and descending journey. It can penetrate higher dimensions to transport life. When you hear about the river of life or the river of death, it's essentially water in a different phase. Water can carry consciousness and transport it to other realms, making it a potent tool for those who engage in channeling, as it resonates well with consciousness. Hence, wherever there is water, you'll find an abundance of life. Question: how can I use this in my sessions? Answer: simply place a glass or jar of water while stating your intention to it. It will generate the right frequency to keep you focused and eliminate interference. Thank you for your suggestion. I've completed that. Now, let's return to the topic of consciousness. I'm a bit perplexed here. You mentioned that consciousness does not have a form, yet it can't exist without one, and somehow, they are interconnected. Can you clarify this? Also, how can water transport consciousness when it has no form? Answer. Let's begin with water. As we discussed earlier, your reality is inescapable. Whether you explore the microscopic or planetary worlds, you find yourself within similar ecosystems and settings. To transcend this realm, you need to elevate your consciousness, essentially shifting your perception. Then, water can transport your consciousness through these diverse realms until reaching the culmination of consciousness. Now, as for the statement that everything you see and experience is essentially the product of your consciousness, while this statement may sound simple, it only scratches the surface. Underneath it lie thousands of underlying principles and processes. The nature of consciousness is fundamentally non-physical. It surpasses material substances and generates them. Consider a scenario where you can only see the footprints left behind by a marching horse, but not the horse itself. These footprints will always be present along the trail of the marching horse, but the footprints will never create the horse. Material substances and all forms are impermanent. As long as a horse exists, its footprints will persist. Conversely, the field or land is crucial for the existence of the horse. Without it, a horse cannot simply exist suspended in space. You can relocate a horse to different locations or fields, but it will always require a specific material substance, such as land, for its existence. Similarly, consciousness will continually transition among various mediums and material substances, but it will always necessitate some form of material substance for its hosting. The conclusion of consciousness implies a state without mysteries, where there is no shade of ignorance. It signifies a complete state of a fully matured consciousness, a state of godhood. Initially, you existed as pure consciousness. Can you elaborate on this based on the intricate relationship between consciousness and material substance? In this realm, such a relationship is inherent due to its dual nature. As we've explained, you can reach a state of consciousness where everything becomes clear. This state is often referred to as enlightenment, and many individuals have achieved it. However, reaching this state doesn't signify the end of the journey but serves as a benchmark for another form of existence. In this state, there is no distinction between material substance and consciousness. They merge into a unified whole. The illusion of duality fades away, and everything becomes consciousness. Elevating this perceptual phenomenon eliminates the illusion.